Hello, I'm Lorette Ligon, President of the Jacksonville-Onslow Chamber of Commerce. And on behalf of the Chamber membership and the Board of Directors, I want to thank you for joining us for our Forum Onslow. The Chamber works with government agencies on issues that affect our business community. We monitor legislative issues that impact local businesses. We promote partnerships between business, government, military, and education. And we use these forums to create awareness on topics that are important to our entire community, such as the election of those that will serve us on the Onslow County Commissioners. Our sponsor for the Meet the Candidates Forum is Jones-Onslow Electric Membership Corporation. The mission of Jones-Onslow EMC is to provide safe, reliable, and affordable electric service with uncompromised excellence in customer service while committing to improve the quality of life for their members through community and civic involvement, such as sponsoring this Meet the Candidates Forum. With us today are the candidates for Onslow County Commissioners: Paul Buchanan, John Davis, Robin Knapp, Tony Padgett, and Velvet Taylor Scroggin. Our moderators today are first Elliot Potter, a retired newspaperman who served as the editor for the Daily News for more than 30 years, and Glenn Hargett, a retired government employee. Keeping time today for us is Lachey Cavers. And with that, I will turn it over to our moderators.
Welcome. We're going to give you some rules of engagement now so that all can hear them as it was. This is a forum, not a debate. We're asking you to only address the questions that are posed to you, and you two are to address the audience and not address each other. All questions will be general in nature and suitable for all candidates. Your opening remarks are limited to 90 seconds, and candidates are asked to state their names, provide background information to introduce yourselves, and including where you reside and your current occupation. We also ask that you give us an idea about why you're running for office. We will alternate the order of questioning, and we are going to only allow one rebuttal today. You have a yellow card that you may pull out to talk about something that maybe you needed to discuss more, or some comment that you wish to regard and that someone else has made. And they're limited to 30 seconds and can only be used during the questions, not for the opening or closing statements. And you'll be called on for a closing statement of no more than 60 seconds. We have a system for letting you know how you stand on time, and it'll be on the little screens that are on the walls and in front of this seating area here. And you'll see that it will turn actually red when you have 15 seconds left. The letters will turn that color. If you're in that sign of the 15 seconds, we do ask that you complete your sentence and stop. And we're very proud of the decorum that candidates and our audiences have exhibited over the years that we've been doing these forums. It's a wonderful tradition, and we respectfully ask that we honor it to keep the program moving and fair. So if there's any questions, we'll answer them now. If not, we'll just get started then. Mr. Potter. And we're going to start with the opening statements, and Mr. Buchanan, you'll get to start that, and we're just going to go right down the road here.
Well, Glenn, thank you, and I want to thank the Chamber, Lorette, Elliot, and for everybody that's here today. And I really want to thank my wife. My wife, June, is in the audience with me, been supporting me for all these years. I've been a public servant for many, many years. I started out as a deputy sheriff, mounted deputy sheriff for 2 years. I went to a regular deputy sheriff at 4 years. I left there and went to the Jacksonville Police Department and served the city of Jacksonville for 16 years, and left there as a captain and served many different organizational within the department. And the main part was a SWAT commander that I did for many years, 10 years to be exact. My object here today is to serve the people of Onslow County. I've been a public servant for so long, and I'm the longest serving Onslow County Commissioner with 20 years. This will be my 6th term if I get elected in November. It is very important to me to work for the citizens of Onslow County, and it makes so much importance to me to be able to do the work of the citizens. The biggest thing that we run into a lot of times is a lot of negative stuff out there, and we have to deal with it all the time. And there's some things that we deal with that some people don't know we deal with, like trash on Riggs Road, or Sam's Ranch, places like this that we deal with. Greystone, I knew that Ellie, I see one of our commissioners out here talk about Greystone. That's another issue we're trying to deal with. There's a lot of different things going on that a lot of the public does not know that we do. And I can tell you, it's been really rewarding for me. Thank you.
Mr. Davis.
My name is John Davis, Mayor of Swansboro. Thank you for having us today. Thank you all for coming and attending today. We've had a lot of success in Swansboro over the last 6 years, heading into 7 years, and I feel like a lot of the things that we have brought to the table at Swansboro we can bring to the county level. I think we can continue to push down taxes, keep them from rising. I think we can take some strategies that will allow us to maybe even reduce taxes. And I know that makes some folks cringe, but I do think it's a worthwhile target. The money that comes into the coffers of Onslow County is not my money. It's not the county commissioner's money. It's your money. And how can we get some of that back into your pockets, especially during this time of inflation the way it is? A lot of things that I'd like to see improved, but you can't cover everything. As Commissioner Paul was explaining, there's a lot of commissioners have a lot of responsibility. But one of my focuses would be our emergency services. I think that is an area that we need improvement. Living in a town that is not close to the center of the county, we've experienced that issue that EMS is having a hard time. And talking to my peers in Holly Ridge is an issue there as well. So that is one of my target issues that I would like to see resolved if you allow me to be a county commissioner. Thank you.
Mr. Knapp.
Well, good afternoon, Lorette. Good to see you, Elliot. As always, it's been a while. Glenn, Lashia. My name is Robin Knapp. I'm currently the vice chairman of the Board of Commissioners. This is my second term. If I get elected, this will be my third term, and I'm really hoping for your support. A little background about me. I'm an Air Force veteran. I got 29 years of government service. After I got out of the Air Force, I went into NCIS as a special agent and then got promoted to supervisory special agent, and where my field of expertise was in narcotics and violent crime. I've been a commissioner, like I said, for 8 years. I'm currently a sales consultant with Moore Buick GMC. That takes enough time as it is, plus my commissioner duties, that I cherish. So I'm usually working at least 11, 12, 13 hours a day, answering calls from the citizens, plus my normal responsibilities. My biggest focus when I came on board in 2017, 2016 timeframe was getting a substance abuse center up, the Dix Crisis Center, and it hasn't changed from that. I'm looking at mental health as our #1 priority in this country, in this state, in this county. My wife's a mental health therapist, and she can tell you that the mental health cases have dramatically skyrocketed, and we need to get control of it as soon as we can. And I'm a big proponent of cutting our tax rate and to keeping it low so people that are making normal salaries can afford the tax rate and to continue on. Thank you.
Mr. Paget.
Thank you. Thank y'all for inviting me. Thank you for what you do for Onslow County as a whole. My name is Tony Paget. I was born and raised in this county. I'm unique. I have been a county commissioner and worked for Onslow County as well. So I have some insight on both sides. It's a big job. It's not easy. Taxes is a major issue, not the only issue. We have things that we have to address. We need to be very transparent with you, the public. We need to hold our tax rate as moderate as we can, and we need to make sure that we continue to have a great place to live, and that's Onslow County. Being born and raised here, it's very, very passionate to me. I've seen the times when Western Boulevard didn't exist. I've seen the times when you didn't drive at Four Corners at Sneeze Ferry to the beach. You had to go to Holly Ridge. I've seen a lot of growth, and growth is a major thing for Onslow County. We're very fortunate to be able to grow as we are. My main reason for running is I want us to be unified and everybody work together for the betterment of Onslow County and you, the citizens. If we're very transparent, us working together can make a difference and make Onslow County and continue to be a great place to live. Thank you.
Ms. Goggin?
Hello, thank you guys for having me today. I am Velvet Scoggin, and I've been living in Onslow County since the age of 16. I am a graduate of Jacksonville High School, 1992, Go Cards. I've been serving the community through my Real Life Church for 20 years, through the Onslow County Outreach Program, League of Women Voters. I've also been serving as Zeta Phi Beta Incorporated, been in the community for the past 20-plus years, making sure that this community gets the needs and the citizens are getting what they need from a better lifestyle. You know, there's a lot of, as he was saying, the growth of the community is an issue. Citizens don't always have what they need to live and be able to survive. So I want to serve on the Onslow County Board to make sure that those citizens are heard and that I can be an advocate for them and they get what they need. Thank you for having me.
Ms. Gong, you'll get the first question, the chance to answer the first question. And
Okay.
just so everyone knows, we're just going to go right back through at this
Okay,
point.
let's hit it.
All right, well, earlier this year, the county established that it wants to become or establish itself as a community of choice. What does that phrase mean to you, and what has to happen to make it ring true?
Community of choice. Well, we all have the right to freedom. We all have the right to choose. But I think the community is the people of Onslow County. So there's no real choice, but I think it includes everybody, every nationality, every diversity. And for that to run true, we have to make sure that those voices are heard at the Onslow County Board and make sure that, again, as I said earlier, that their needs are met and that we are listening to their needs, listen to their wants, making sure that the community is, as he said earlier, as one. I think that we need to be collaborating with the Onslow County, Jacksonville as boards, and as long as also as the community boards, county boards should be collaborating together to make that happen. Thank you. A little nervous.
Mr. Patch, you want me to repeat it?
Yes, if you would.
Okay. Earlier this year, the county established that it would like to become or establish itself as a community of choice. I would ask what that phrase would mean to you, and what do you think has to happen to make it come true?
Well, community of choice, and this is my choice. It's the greatest place there is on earth is Onslow County to me. We have it all. We've got the beaches. You know, we're slowly gaining industry here. And for us to continue to make it our community of choice, we have got to collaborate. We've got to work with our military, with our municipalities, and make sure that everyone is on board, because if it's good for Swansboro, it's good for the rest of the county. If it's good for Jacksonville, it's good for the rest of the county. Holly Ridge, Richlands, it's all, you know, we're all one. So we've got to work together and make sure we're transparent in what we do. And if we do that, we're going to continue to have the greatest place on earth, and that's Onslow County. Thank you.
Mr. Knapp?
You know, when you talk about community of choice, it encompasses a lot of factors. There's a lot of things, as a commissioner, during our workshops, we discussed this, and that was one of our primary goals, is to make this a community of choice. But when you're talking about a community of choice, you have to make it attractive to people who want to live here. And there's so many ways that you can do that. One of the ways that we do that is to maintain our tax rate, if not to cut it even lower if we can, to make it affordable for people that are coming into this area from New York, New Jersey, or wherever it might be, moving down here, that it's a lot cheaper for them to live here. You know, we touched on the beaches, we've touched on the natural beauty of Onslow County, which is an attraction itself. But part of that also encompasses providing the best service we can as a county government. And additionally, we have to be accountable for our actions. We have to be sincere. We have to be upfront. And we had to, by far, be so transparent and provide the best possible customer service, period.
Mr. Davis?
Well, first, I want to thank Commissioner Knapp for his desire to cut taxes, and I will, if I'm elected, Robin, I'd love to work with you on making that happen. And secondly, agree with what pretty much everybody has said, but so I'm going to pick one particular item that I think would help in Onslow County being the county of choice, and that's economic development. I feel like that there's a lot of room for improvement, if you may. I think there's some good strides, great strides even, that have been made over the last several months to work with our economic development folks, but I think there's more we can do in order to bring businesses and jobs to Onslow County. And being a place of choice, I want it to be a place of choice for our kids. So when our kids graduate high school, I want there to be high-paying jobs so our kids will stay in Onslow County, and their place of choice will be here with mom and dad because they have a place to make a living.
Mr. Buchanan.
Pretty simple. Community of choice, we will be the best place to live, work, play, and grow by providing excellent recreation, education, culture, and employment. That's the key. And that's the key. And where did that come from? The retreat. The retreat that we've had, and I've been a commissioner for 20 years, and we've never had a retreat like that. And I know that there's commissioners sitting on this board and commissioners out in the audience. That retreat was probably one of the best retreats we've ever had to put that together. And that is the actual phrase for that particular item that you asked about.
All right. Mr. Davis, you'll begin this time, and we'll work our way down and then come back to you, Mr. Buchanan.
The current Board of Commissioners have also addressed various transformations in the leadership of the county. Are there changes in structure that you believe would clarify various roles in the organization and help prevent any future misunderstandings?
Well, one is I think the board needs to be the leader. I think you have a county manager and you have assistant managers and such to run the operations of the county, but I think the chairman of the board and the county commissioners, they need to be out front. They need to be the leaders in the county. I do believe that we need to look at the top side of our county government. I think we're very heavy on that, on the top side, and I think some review there is required. We are paying a very hefty salary to our county manager, and I'm not saying he's not worth it and he's not earning it, but I think a lot of expectations come along with a hefty salary such as that. And there's a lot of folks in Onslow County that are not even making salaries that are comparable, close to even being able to make ends to end meet. So I think there's a lot of expectations that the county needs to work on the leadership side.
Mr. Knapp.
One of the biggest things about being successful is being consistent. To have leadership in place that's both experienced and tenured, so to speak. They've been there. That's one of the reasons why Paul and myself are running for re-election again, to maintain that continuity. Because we've been there, we've seen that, we've learned from our mistakes, and we press forward. In terms of our county manager, our county manager has a tremendous responsibility for this county. He oversees all the people in the county. Now, we can debate his salary all day long, but as far as I'm concerned, he's worth it because he's already proven himself and his worth by shaping things and guiding us towards our long-term and strategic goals. That's what we need to focus in on. And we have to do that with strong leadership. And strong leadership means speaking your mind, not being afraid, don't straddle the fence. If you feel or feel a certain way about something, speak your mind. Because if you don't speak your mind, you're not doing anything for you or your citizens that elected you as their representative. You got to speak vocally, and you have to be very direct and to the point.
Mr. Padgett.
Thank you. Leadership has been a problem at times, but as far as management goes, we have good people in place. And it's my goal to make sure we hire the best qualified people we can for the job. Board of Commissioners does need to be leaders, which I think they are. And also, we don't need to micromanage your employees to the point that they get disgusted. That's not what we're here for. But we do need to be at the front run. And we need to assess everybody and make them accountable. That's what it's about, is be accountable for what you do. And if we get the right people, qualified people, in the right places, we're going to continue to go forward. And I think our leadership for managers, assistant managers, department heads, our employment will stick with us as long as they know they have backing from us. And that's what we need to do. Thank you.
Ms. Scroggins?
Yes, thank you. I believe that leaders are servants. So as a leader, and if you're serving, you should be out front and where your citizens can see you serving, not just sitting behind a desk all day, but showing people that you're here for them, being advocates for them. I also believe that having some strategic goals that could come to you and talk to you about, making sure that the citizens' input are heard and that you're advocating for the citizens and you're there for them. That's, I think, good leadership is.
Mr. Buchanan.
Thank you. The thing that we talked about the retreat a while ago, the managers that brought that together for us, and his leadership has done so much, and you have to look at me now. I've been watching how many commissioners to come and go, and how many managers have I been with? Quite a few. David Smitherman has been doing an outstanding job for us. The strategic plan that he's brought together, talking about economic development, working our assistant county managers, keeping them accountable for what they're supposed to do. He comes to us, and the biggest thing that he's done for us is our workshops. Our workshops have been amazing. Taking a lot of our work and putting it in the consent agenda has helped a whole lot by making sure that we had items in the regular agenda items that we dealt with, that were really sincere for us to work on. But the biggest thing that we've done is the actual workshops. They've been very helpful for us, and his leadership has brought us to that. Every leader has his own style. I have been with several style managers before. His style is pretty unique, and it grows on you.
All right. Mr. Buchanan, you'll start first this time, and we'll go back down here, Ms. Scrogging, and continue this way.
And I guess that was something of a lead into this question. In the budget presentation this year, the county manager described the county's financial picture as strong. He said that we're ready to move past some of the challenges created by COVID and some of the recent storms that we had. Do you think that's a fair assessment of the county situation? And in your view, what does that mean as far as the commissioners setting priorities going forward?
Well, it's pretty simple that you asked me that simple question, but the 25 plan accomplishments, and it's a card that we passed out to everybody. So we have this information to pass out to all our citizens. And pay and classified study implementation, we have to do that. Merit pay systems, leadership development program, public safety funding criteria, economic development strategic plan. We're already into the strategic plan now. Partnership with the COQ Recreation Initiative. There's so many things that's come out of this budget. We are sound. We are totally sound in our finances right now. Lowering taxes, we didn't raise taxes the last couple of years. But the key to this thing is, when you've got 325 students coming to Onslow County every year, that's half a school. What are you going to do when we need 2 or 3 schools to build? You going to raise taxes? I'm not going to sit here and say I can't raise taxes because I've raised them before, but I have went against raising taxes also. It's very important the way the manager set the budget, and the budget is working. Perfect.
Ms. Scroggin?
I think the budget at this point, I can see the growth in Onslow County, and I've looked at the budget online that they presented from their audits, and you can see the growth in Onslow for the past 10 years, but I also think that there's a need. I think there's a need for grant information and grant funding to be included in the budget. As you look at as you look at our communities, a lot of our nonprofits are helping feed our communities, are helping provide for our citizens. So I do think that we need to take a look at our nonprofits. Maybe they shouldn't have to do as much. Maybe we should have county funding to help those nonprofits to help improve the budget. So I thank you for that.
Mr. Paget?
Would you repeat that question for me?
I sure will if I can find it. The county manager in the budget presentation this year said the financial picture of the county is strong. He says we're ready to move forward past the era of COVID and past some of these recent storms that we had that impacted our financial picture. Do you think that's a fair assessment? And furthermore, what do you think that does as far as you're thinking in terms of the county's priorities?
I think that's a fair statement. I think Onslow County is sound, and there's been a lot of hard work to get it there. So previous commissioners, previous boards has made it that way. I was in a situation, just to tell you, as a commissioner before, in '92 when I was elected, and we got from our state auditor that our fund balance was unacceptable. And we had to do some drastic changes to make that work, and we did. And since then, it's kept building. This Board of Commissioners has done a good job of building our budget. I do think that we're at a point in our budget that you know, I feel like you, the citizens, can spend your money better than we can. And if our fund balance is super healthy, maybe we do need to look at dropping the tax rate a penny or two if we can afford it. Depends on what we've got projects available and what that money will need to be used for. Thank you.
Mr. Knapp?
Elliot, to answer your question very directly, it's more than a fair assessment. When the budget, or the county manager presented the budget in terms of the overall health of our budget. Because of our overall health, to get back to the second part of your question is, you know, how does that change our priorities? Well, it changes our priorities in the sense now we have some wiggle room in terms of money that we can use to prioritize certain programs. Like Mr. Davis said, EMS folks, mental health facilities, things of that nature. But the biggest thing that he's done, he's brought professionalism to the board, or excuse me, to the county. And his motto is, it's cheaper to keep these people and train them and put them in an environment that they enjoy working at. So like Commissioner Buchanan talking about merit pay system, looking and evaluating a possible merit pay system, step increases, things like that, to keep these people not stagnant, but to promote growth for our own county employees. And I think that's very important. And it shifts our priorities around every time we come to the budget cycle.
And to Mr. Davis.
Yeah, so I agree. I think it was a fair statement. I think I agree with Mr. Knapp again. This is recorded, by the way, Robin, that we've agreed twice.
I know, I'm recording.
But I agree that we have a sound budget. I also agree with Tony that, you know, when you start looking at that fund balance, we need to consider being able to give back to our citizens. And the other thing, specifically what I was agreeing with Mr. Knapp on, is taking care of our employees. Several things on the campaign trail have come to me where our employees don't feel valued, the current employees that we have, and these are high-rated employees. And if you've got an outstanding employee, a high performer, we need to take care of those current high-performing employees and then look from the outside. Certainly, we want to recruit great talent, but let's take care of the talent we have. And let's use some of that budget to take care of that talent so we can retain it.
Mr. Knapp, you'll start this time. We'll proceed down to this side of the table and then come back on this side.
Let's switch the topic a little bit and let's talk about growth in Onslow County. Describe your own feelings about the rate of growth in the county, and what do you see as the biggest challenges presented by that growth, and what are the greatest opportunities presented by the growth?
Repeat that last part of the question.
I'd like, in addition to assessing what you think the rate of growth in the county is, also what challenges come along with that kind of growth, and what opportunities might come along with that, might be presented by that.
Well, as far as growth is concerned, this county is growing by leaps and bounds. It's obvious. I mean, you can see it everywhere. The influx of people, not only the military, but for the civilian community, people coming from New York, other states to reside here. Why? It's cheaper. And that's a good thing. We're bringing people here. But with that comes kids. They come kids and family members. Schools are starting to expand. Like Buchanan said, you got 350 people or 350 kids, that's half a school. Because of the fact that we have a sound budget, that we have a sound process on how we look at our budget, it makes things easier for us to evaluate what our priorities. Getting back to what I said earlier about the reshifting priorities. The biggest reshifting in priorities is to tackle the growth of Onslow County. That goes into real estate as well, housing projects, things like that, to the expansion of real estate. And so we have to be conscious of that and direct our money and direct our priorities in that particular direction. And I think that we can do it because of the budget and because of our leadership. And we must remember that our county employees are the fuel that really pushes this massive engine, which we call Onslow County.
Mr. Patchett.
Yes, that's a good question. And Onslow County is growing leaps and bounds. And, you know, we have got to protect, in my opinion, our heritage here, our agriculture, our future in agriculture as well. One of the obstacles that really, really hurts us, and it's hard to anticipate, but your infrastructure. We have got to work with ONWASA, making sure we have adequate water for our fire service. We got to make sure that we have adequate septic use in our system as well. And it's hard because we are growing so rapid. The good thing about it, real good thing, our sales tax revenue is through the roof and will continue. And that makes it so much better. So there's good and bad, but together, working together and having that transparency, we can make it work. Thank you.
Yeah, yes, thank you. I totally agree with what every gentleman has said up here, but I also believe that one of the issues that with the growth brings is that traffic and the congestion that we are finding. The roads are not adequate, you know, even though we have the new bypass coming up, but I still think there is, you know, more stuff, more infrastructure for the traffic that we would need help with. I also believe, although the property taxes have also increased in the last 10 years, to almost 35 million. So that's another thing, talked about the real estate coming up, but it's also increasing our property tax for citizens. So I do see the growth this year, but we also need to consider, I think he said it down there, that we need to make sure that our families have something to do. My kids will not come back if we don't have jobs where they can, after they've graduated from college, we need jobs where they'll be able to come here and have a nice place to work, because they won't come back here because there's no jobs that meet their goals. So I think having good, nice places to work, a better housing system, I think that's what we need to make sure that it continues to grow. Thank you.
Mr. Buchanan?
Hey, you repeat the question?
Sure. I want to know a little bit about what your own feelings are about the rate of growth in the county. And what do you see as the biggest challenges and opportunities that are presented by the growth?
Well, the growth is, you know, we're at right 200,000, I believe now, and they're saying within the next 5 to 6 years we'll be at 225,000. That's a lot of people. I talked about schools a while ago. 325 people, students, would make half of a school. But the key to it is that only 46% of the taxpayers pay the bill.
That's right.
The other 36% is by the state. So the key to that is we got a couple things going on here. One, not enough housing and not enough affordable housing. There's two key things we need to be working on very heavily. And I know that Royce Ben, I know he's sitting out there, I'm not trying to pick on Royce, but he's been very behind a lot of this because he's a realtor. And his information that he gives the board and everything else is very helpful to us. But that's important. So the other thing is the quarter cent sales tax has got to come back again. We've got to get the public to help us put that together. In 2010, we got that quarter cent sales tax. We need another quarter cent sales tax to help the public out. That quarter cent sales tax could help probably with new schools.
Okay, Mr. Davis?
Could you repeat the question, please?
Sure. I'm asking what your feelings are about the rate of growth in the county, and what do you see as the biggest challenges that are presented by growth, and what are some of the opportunities that might present themselves?
Okay, very good. Thank you. So first, I agree with Mr. Buchanan. I think it would be excellent to get the quarter cent sales tax going, with one caveat, is that we find ways to reduce our property tax. I think they must go hand in hand. I know folks feel like that can't get through the state, House, and Senate, but I believe we owe it to the people. Again, it's their money, and we would be leveraging folks that are coming into the county with sales tax. So to go back to the specific question is, we need a comprehensive plan that involves all of our infrastructure, all of our utilities, and we need everybody in the room. We have a huge county. Trust me, I've drove it now 100 times, and from Holly Ridge to Swansboro to Richlands, we need a plan. And it needs to include all the major players, and we need to, and not just a strategic plan, not just a land use plan, it needs to include all the elements, and we need to partner with the base in that plan as well.
And Mr. Davis, you'll start this time, and we'll go to Mr. Buchanan and then come back through.
I want to drill down on the issue of growth a little bit more, specifically on a topic that many of you mentioned, which is the schools. Would it make sense for the county commissioners to support or approve some sort of growth impact statement when it comes to actions on rezoning or approval, other types of approval of development, and transmit that growth impact statement not only to the school board, for example, but also the general public?
So Mr. Potter, would you please define what you mean by growth impact statement?
Well, Glenn, you want to help me out here?
The question for the school system was, how many kids are coming with that development or that growth, and what impact it could have on them? And the aggregate of several growth impact statements would indicate the evidence of a new school.
So we currently have a formula for the county that former manager Hudson put in place, and I think it's been modified slightly. It seems to be working. I do believe that we can manage our school growth, but again, it comes with having a comprehensive plan. And when I say comprehensive, it's not what we traditionally think of. We think we have this comprehensive plan, and it only involves a few parties. We need the municipalities involved, and I can tell you as the mayor that we have not been a part of a comprehensive plan. And Swansboro, Richlands, Holly Ridge, the folks down in Sneads Ferry, folks in Hubert, they need to be a part of these plans. And that feeds over into your more specific items. How do we make sure we've got enough schools? Because I can tell you the schools in Swansboro are bursting at the seams. So that's, again, we need to be looking out, not just 5 years, 10 years. We need to be looking out 20, 30, 50 years. How are we going to manage growth and be prepared for growth? And we're not there yet.
Mr. Buchanan.
Well, we just passed a comprehensive plan, which brought Sneads Ferry into play with us, with the county, and it's countywide. And what it does is it gives us enough information for planning and zoning to make sure that we know where the developments are at, and then we have to keep up with the developments. And there's several developments that we approve, and there's some that we don't approve also. Keeping up with those populations of those growths in those certain areas is where it gives us the numbers. And those numbers there we deal with the actual Board of Education and sit down with the Board of Education, have meetings with them. Our staff always meets with Barry Collins and his staff to find out where that growth is at, how many students we're going to get, and we try to figure out through the comprehensive plan, plus the formula that we have. That formula has been working very well since 2020 is when that was signed by Pam. God bless her, and an outstanding individual. Thank you.
Amen.
Indeed. Ms. Scoggin.
Yes, I would say number one is not take money from the schools and give it to another organization. $3+ million to one organization is a lot of money to take away from the school system in Onslow County. I also believe that we need to continue to increase the funding and make sure that our teachers are well taken care of. When the salary for teachers are low, the morale leaves, and that makes, and then the growth leaves, and then students don't want to be there, parents don't want to be there. It all affects, it kind of trickles down. So I think, enhancing wherever you can all around when it comes to education includes teachers, students, parents, the community, to make sure that growth continues. Thank you.
Mr. Patchen.
Thank you. I will say the formula has been working pretty good, and we have opportunity as commissioners to revisit that formula every year. And it takes a lot of planning. Strategic planning, as Mr. Davis said, our building department, they know where the future's coming, and keeping us as commissioners informed so we can make sure the infrastructure is in place. It takes a team to make this work. And we got to have that team together, and I mean all the teams. That means every municipality, every mayor, council people. So we make sure that we're giving the folks what they need, infrastructure-wise and growth-wise. You can't stop growth. It's coming. We welcome it. We just want to make sure we're ready for it. Thank you.
Mr. Knapp.
A couple of points. You talk about a comprehensive plan. We have one in place, and that we're constantly pursuing that comprehensive plan and making changes to it and making adjustments. And the growth impact plan is a finite creature. In other words, we can have a growth impact plan, but it may change dramatically in 2 months. It could change in 6 months. Those are very helpful, and we try to get that out to the employees and to get out to our citizens. But like our climate, everything is up and down. It depends. It depends on trends and how many people are coming here. Getting back to what Commissioner Buchanan said, we have a great formula in place with the Board of Education in terms of trying to finance the construction of new schools and et cetera. And those are things that we're still working on, and it's a constant evolution because it continuously changes day by day. And so to put a finger on it and to put the definitive answer on this or that, you can't do that. So you have to adjust to it, and you have to expect it coming in, and you have to make the appropriate adjustments.
Got a rebuttal there?
Okay. Mr. Davis has a rebuttal.
All right. So, yeah, the comprehensive plan's been mentioned a couple times, and again, I want to say not a traditional plan. We need to involve the base. We need to understand what the base's needs are. Again, as a town of Swansboro, we need to be a part of that, or if y'all choose to elect me, the people coming after me need to be a part of the plan. Holly Ridge needs to be a part of the plan. Richlands needs to be a part of the plan. And that's the piece we're missing, is a countywide, every player is at the table to see what our future is.
Thank you. Mr. Paget, you'll begin this time, and Ms. Scoggin will follow, and then we'll come down this direction.
Mr. Paget, other than continuing to build on the relationship with the elected sheriff, what would you say the county commissioners can do to provide leadership in the areas of crime and public safety? And do you have specific areas of concern in this area that you would like to see worked on?
Thank you. It's a good question. We're going to continue to support our sheriff. It's very important that we do that. School violence, our resource officers, we need to make sure that we continue to fund that. That's very big in not only Onslow County, but across this state. And I think we are very fortunate to have a sheriff that really cares and wants to work with our Board of Commissioners. And that's so important because our budgets being what they are. But I'm always going to continue to support our sheriff, support our safety for our citizens of Onslow County, and continue to go forward. Thank you.
I totally agree with him that safety is first and foremost for Onslow County, for our citizens, for our families, for our schools, and that support requires some new technology. I think body cameras is important, and I think every police officer should have a body cam as they patrol throughout the city, making sure that everybody's treated fairly when they're stopped or when they're even coming into a building. It needs to be made aware of, and that we feel safe with those body cameras. There's a sense of safety to know that someone is watching over us while we're being policed. Thank you.
Mr. Buchanan.
It's a no-brainer, this one. I mean, Chris Thomas is one of the best sheriffs we ever had. I'm very fortunate. I work very close with Chris because detention officers come through the college. That's where I work at part-time. And we also have our deputies that come through the college. Chris has done so much and saved the county so much money since he's been the county sheriff. And the key with Chris is that he's always figuring out ways to do things better. I mean, some of the ballistic stuff that they're doing now is state-of-the-art. FBI don't have some of the stuff that our sheriff has. The shooting house that he's fixing to put out at the range is going to be immaculate. What it's going to be, it's going to be one of the best tools for our officer to do building searches. His new range out there, which we, the county commissioners, helped him get that range. I think Robin and I were on the board at the time. We got him $350,000, and Royce Bannett, he was also with us. And we gave him that money so he could build his own range. He didn't have his range. The JPD has their own. Chris Thomas has done so much for this community. I don't know how much more to say about him. I mean, he's just an outstanding sheriff.
Mr. Davis.
Yeah, so I echo the sentiments. We are very blessed to have Chris as our sheriff. The one thing I think we're going to have to step up with as a county commissioner is the issues that they're having with the jail. They're apparently design flaws and things that are just make it an untenable environment for our detention officers to have to serve, and we need to help him with that. I think that's a big project that he needs help with. We need to support him in trying to pay his folks more. I think that's a big part of this. Those are his department is probably, aside from my own personal police department, are the best guys in the county, okay? Our deputies have done an amazing job around the county and everything that they do. So we need to support them financially, we need to support their pay rates, and we need to improve our detention facility.
Mr. Buchanan has done a rebuttal card. We'll tender that right after the question.
Chris inherited that facility. And that facility was one of the worst facilities we ever built, and I was a part of that. one of the county commissioners sitting there, and the manager that was behind that, we had 37 subs. You don't have 37 subs in a project like that. That project was one of the worst projects that this community has ever had to deal with by these commissioners, and we had no idea how to build a jail. I can tell you, Jeff Hudson lived in that jail, I think, for almost 6 months until we could get it to we actually get occupancy for that thing. It's still a problem. We're still spending a lot of money. The air conditioners on top of the darn thing are not the right air conditioners. We just spent $1 million and there's 6 of them.
Indeed. Mr. Knapp.
I've known Chris since November of '90, when my unit and his unit would work together on joint undercover operations. So that's how long our friendship goes. And I echo the words of Commissioner Buchanan. There's not a better sheriff for Onslow County, and that is a no-brainer. They're our number one priority: safety and to protect our citizens. Plain and simple. Coming from a law enforcement background, just like Paul, that's just a no-brainer to us. But part of your question was asking what do we need to focus in on is what we can do as commissioners to help with the crime rate or to help the sheriff's department. One, we need to keep properly funding them to make sure they have the proper resources, the equipment necessary. And to echo what Mr. Buchanan said, Chris is so intelligent that he finds ways to use grants and stuff like that to save the taxpayers' money to get equipment and training that he needs for his deputies. And one of the things that we need to focus in on as county commissioners is mental health awareness, mental health facilities to help with these mental health patients that come into the prisons. That should be a priority for the commissioners.
Ms. Knapp, you're going to begin this next time, and we're going to go down Mr. Davis, Buchanan, and then come back this way.
Can we call timeout?
Well, I'm going to give Mr. Knapp the opportunity to expand on one of the topics that he's mentioned several times, which is mental health. It continues to be, obviously, mental health is a widespread concern across the nation, across North Carolina, but the problem really hits home when we consider the impacts on our local communities. I'd like to know some specifics about from all the commissioners and all the people running for commissioner about what would be some of the ideas that we can put into play about how we can start making some inroads on this problem or continue to make greater inroads on this problem.
Well, like I told you about mental health is the number one issue in the United States, period, bar none, okay? More so than the fentanyl epidemic that's out there, et cetera. And we need to focus in on prevention. We need to focus in on getting these people that are mentally ill the proper treatment that they need, the proper training for our law enforcement officers to deal with these individuals. That's a big priority because a lot of the people in our jail cells are mentally ill or have mental issues. And we need to be able to treat them. They need to receive the proper counseling if needed, the proper medication under psychiatric care or whatever it might be. But at the same time, our law enforcement officers need to be trained in how to properly handle a mentally ill person. It's a lot different. You just don't take a mentally ill person and throw them to the ground and use trigger words that may incite a episode, when they're angry or something like that. You have to recognize certain things. That's a lot of training, and that's what we need to focus in on. Mental health is a number one priority. We need to really push on that and try to bring the facilities and services to Onslow County.
Mr. Davis.
So first, a quick shout out to my Swansboro Police Department. They deal with mental health issues every day, and they have done amazing, and they have not pulled a firearm or fired a firearm at a human being in recent history, and we're very thankful for that. I work with two organizations, Hope is Alive, and I work with HBOT for Heroes. And the reason why I narrow it down to two is because, as Commissioner Knapp has explained, it's a huge issue, mental health. And so my focus is getting the opioid settlement money freed up for the private organizations in our county. HBOT for Heroes is helping veterans with TBIs and post-traumatic syndrome. Hope is Alive is helping addicts through an in-home living facility to recover with an 85+% recidivity rate, which is amazing. So we need to take that money from the county and get it out to the private folks that are good at what they do.
Mr. Buchanan.
CIT training, I mean, that's where it's all at. Crisis intervention training, we do that a lot at the college for the sheriff and for the chief, and Chief Yanero brought that here probably 3 years ago. came to me and he said, we need to do something to work with this issue, because the problem we have is we're putting them in jail, we're sending them to the hospital. That's not places for them, and Robin's going to jump on board with this, and we need a bigger facility. The Dick Center is doing very well. I sit on the ABC board, and the ABC board gives $988,000 that comes to our general fund that pays about $500,000 of that to the Dick Center. We need a bigger facility. It's a bigger help, but the CIT training is what's helping our officers out in the street. Like what John says, they're not pulling guns on them. They have special teams that come in and handle these mental health issues. But the biggest problem we have right now is the drugs that we have, the fentanyl. I mean, fentanyl is just a big, it's killing, what, hundreds of thousands of our people.
Indeed. Ms. Scroggin.
Yes, I agree. Let me just echo what all they have said. But I do agree that the mental health, it's a big issue in Onslow County. It is also with our homeless who don't have the opportunity to get the medicine they need because they are homeless. But I also think that we need to utilize the training that can be provided to all public workers, all school teachers. If you're in some sort of public job, you need to have that training provided to you so that you can help everybody that's in that state. Also, take the funding that we have from the county and give it to those nonprofit organizations that are already trained and certified and know how to rehabilitate those people that need mental health. So I just think that's what we should start at that point from the county. Thank you.
Mr. Patrick.
Thank you. Mental health is a major issue in most families. No matter who we are, we've had that deal with it. And I think the key word here is educate. Mm-hmm. We have got to educate not only families, but our law enforcement as well. And it's going to bite us at any given time because of the severity of it. And we got to make sure we use that money very wisely, as been stated about Dick's Crisis Center needs to be enlarged. We got one place here that can help in that. We've got several organizations, but we've got to educate the people. And it's a sickness, it's a bad sickness, and all of us, or most of us, has had an opportunity to deal with it. But together, we will make this happen. Thank you.
Ms. Scroggin, you'll begin this next question.
Okay.
And then we're just going to come down this direction.
What is your assessment of the housing situation here, which has been a topic that we've talked about a little bit already? Has the escalating cost of housing pushed some people, particularly young people, outside of the current housing market here in the county? And what can the commissioners do to relieve that problem?
That's a great question. The housing in Onslow County is over the top. First of all, it's not enough affordable housing for those who can barely make ends meet to provide or survive daily. So the affordable housing also needs to be looked at, that we could bring in some housing for those who can't afford it. Two, you mentioned young people. Again, if you're a college student, how can you afford an apartment that costs $1,500? So those assessments that we have in Onslow County, that assessment of housing is just over the top. What can we do as county commissioners is take some of these old buildings and probably get some county funding, find some grants to help turn some of those old buildings into homeless shelters, bring in, bring in some other tourism grant money maybe to help fund the housing. And also help Onslow County Outreach. They're doing what they can. They have a homeless shelter there. Give funding to them to maybe help get some of those homeless people off the streets.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Buchanan.
Thank you. I think that the strategic plan that our manager and a lot of the city manager and the county manager and some of the other municipalities are putting together, I think that's going to address a lot of that. There's not a whole lot that we can do except work for grants, and we did have a grant for $5 million. We thought we were going to be able to do affordable housing, and that didn't pan out because the materials are so expensive that the money that we had would not cover the grant. The grant money wouldn't cover their housing that we wanted done, and I think it was like, I might get this wrong, 84 units, and they couldn't do the 84 units because the money was not there in the grant that we had, because the grant was only $5 million. There's a lot of things we need to look at and what we can do, with the biggest thing is hoping that the strategic plan, which the manager and the assistant county, and the city manager and the county manager working very close together. I've never seen such a working togetherness with the strategic plan, and I think that's going to be a big help to us, but grants is the key.
Absolutely. Mr. Davis.
Yeah, so I like what Joe Ed's doing with the workplace housing. Housing is certainly an issue in Onslow County, and we need to participate with Joe Ed and look to see how we can do more workplace housing. Again, I'm a big proponent of economic development. I think if we will work closer with Joe Ed and be more willing to fund what Joe Ed's doing and see and appreciate their vision, I think that will help. They have, obviously, folks in the real estate industry on that board, and they want industry to be successful. But if you don't have a place to live, you go somewhere else where you have a place to live and you can work. And so we need to focus on that. I'm not so much into the affordable housing as I am workplace housing. I don't feel comfortable with that. But I do believe we can do better. And part of that, again, if we can reduce taxes, people have more money to spend on their housing.
Thank you. Mr. Knapp?
Can you repeat the question again, please?
Yes, it's just generally, what is your assessment of the housing situation in the county? And do you think that we're seeing, is this a direct hit on young people when they're pushed out by the housing cost? And what can the county commissioners do to help matters?
Would you say about a direct hit on who?
Youth.
On young people?
Oh. Well, I'm going to echo some of what Commissioner Buchanan said. You know, COVID really messed with us, messed with our economy, did a lot of things that we don't even see. Now we're starting to see the after effects of affordable housing. I believe in affordable housing, and I believe in that. But, you know, with COVID and the rising prices, things are not going to change in the very near future until we get our inflation down, and that's not something that we can control. That's something that's nationwide. The inflation rate, the prices of everything, as everybody knows, has gone up 4 times higher than what it was 3-4 years ago. So that directly contributes to the cost and the rising costs of housing. Now, grants, we try to pursue grants, we try to use grants, but like Commissioner Buchanan said, some of those grants don't cover it. You know, we've had a couple of realtors, or I shouldn't say realtors, but developers bail out on some of the projects they were doing because of the cost. So is it affecting the community? It absolutely is, and we need to be more diligent as commissioners to make sure that we move it in the right direction.
All right, the next question, Mr. Paget, you'll have first, and then we're going to come down this way and then finish with Ms. Scoggin.
Well, again.
Wait a minute.
Oh, excuse me.
You didn't
I'm
get to answer
sorry.
the other one?
Oh, did I?
Well, there you go.
Are we having a Biden moment?
I apologize.
To your question, yes, housing is a problem in Onslow County. Wood cost is a problem in Onslow County. Interest is a problem for due housing. You know, it's going, as a commissioner, all we can do is apply for grants and continue to push forward and push our legislators, our delegation, to see what we can do to help lower interest rates so people can afford it, young people, and see if we can continue to just pressure and see if we can't help in getting that, because a young person today is going to have a tough time buying a home. Onslow County growing the way it is, the seller wants the most they can get out of it. The buyer wants to buy as cheap as they can. I understand, but we going to have to work together, and I think grants is the key to it, and get as much as we can and pressure as much as we can. You can't ask the builder to build a home and lose money. Thank you.
We will begin this time, and if
Okay,
I can keep the order in my sheet going correctly, then we'll then proceed Mr. Knapp, Mr. Davis, Mr. Buchanan, and then Ms. Scoggin.
Well, I want to talk about a topic that you have brought up, so it's good. I guess that we missed you, and now you're back. I want to talk about economic development.
Yes, sir.
And we've been here, probably asked an economic development for 40 years that we've been doing these forums. Are you satisfied with what the county has seen in its return on investment in economic development? And if, where are the county's efforts strong, and where does there need to be some improvement?
Okay, economic development is very big to me. Our industrial park, I was on the board when we bought where it's at today. You have to have the right economic developer person, director in there, and I understand we have a good one now. And you've got to not only go after the great big industry, what's wrong with the 10 and 15 job industries? Why don't we look at filling it up? Interstate is a big thing for industry, as we all know. You got to be able to move that product. Also, why are we not looking at what can we do Camp Lejeune could use, or our base could use, or Cherry Point use, and try to get industry involved that we can make something for them that's local, which will help all of our people here to find a good paying job. And we've got to be very positive and reach out far to maybe the state economic development, and I could talk on this a long time, I'm running out of time, but you know, there is others that we need to be looking at. Summit is a big one. They do big in industry. Why don't we approach them? Do you have something you float us? Thank you, and I'm sorry.
Mr. Knapp.
You know, to answer your question, am I pleased with the way economic development has been? And I'm going to be honest with you, I'm 50-50 on that right now. You know, we need to get industries in here, but there's three main things to get industry in here. Number one is rail, number one is a waterway system, and number three is interstate. So we're kind of caught right in the middle. So, and we've got Burton Park out there that I've been stressing. I know Commissioner Buchanan has been stressing to develop that. We're starting to make movement on that with a medical facility that's going up there and some restaurants and et cetera. Our goal is to bring jobs and to bring opportunity for our kids, for people, our citizens of Onslow County, but it's very difficult. And, you know, when commissioners have a vision to focus in on certain things and what we want, I think that economic development should get on board with that and try to do their very best to do that. You know, for months we've been trying to get Burton Park developed. That's land that's out there, it's not being developed. It's finally starting to move. It wasn't because of economic development, it was because of our county manager at the time and our attorney. So we need to focus in on that, and we need to present the opportunities as they become available.
Mr. Davis.
Yeah, so I hate to disagree with Mr. Knapp because we've been agreeing so much today, but I'm going to disagree with him on this one. We've got to trust the business people. That's what they do. It's what they're good at. So when Joe Ed makes suggestions to the board, I think it needs to be the other way. We need to listen. And Burton Park, we could spend a long time talking about Burton Park, but we've got to trust Joe Ed. We've got to work with Joe Ed. The other thing that we need to look at is on the housing. I'm going to bring the housing back into this discussion. And we have made our ordinances so strict that it makes housing difficult. You have to have housing to have employees to fulfill a facility that employs people. And so we need to look at some of our housing restrictions in our ordinances and consider relaxing those. And that will also help Joe Ed bring jobs in because they will have places to put the employees.
Mr. Buchanan.
You know I'm not a component. I don't, Joe Ed, I have problems with Joe Ed, have had problems with Joe Ed for years. I will not go into any details. I have all the details written right here if you want me to read them out to you, but I'm not going to do that. Joe Ed has only worked to help themselves sometimes, and it's usually the director that does that. But I can tell you this much, since a new manager has come on staff, we're seeing a lot. I am now taking that pendulum and swinging the other direction. I support Joe Ed, but I support the strategic plan. I don't support Joe Ed as an individual. I support the whole strategic plan because that's what's going to take Onslow County. Burton Park, they've cost us a lot of money out in Burton Park. And like you heard what Robin said, the last building, we sold it. Our manager and our attorney sold that building. So I have a lot of problems, but I think that things are turning themselves around, and I think that it's going to get better. And that's because of the strategic plan, and that's because of our manager.
Ms. Scroggie.
Okay. Let me echo what some of them have said, and I agree that, you know, our economic development needs some improving. But I also think that, like he said, we didn't have the the roads to bring, or I-40 or 70 to bring some of those big companies in, but I think we could start with companies we already have here, like Duke Energy. They may be able to help with some of our, expanding our renewable infrastructure. I also think we need to look at technology. I mean, our technology in Onslow County is pretty low. We could look at some smaller companies like Red Hat, which is owned by IBM. There's a North Carolina-based open source software company. We could probably pursue them to help and come in. We could look at Cisco. We could look at SAS Institute. I think just looking at some of those smaller companies to help bring in to at least increase somewhere and just not kind of stay dormant the way we are now. We have to move forward with it. Technology is a big issue we need to look into, I think. Thank you.
Thank you. This next question will start with Mr. Buchanan, and we're going to go right down that.
And I think this is going to be our final question before the closing statement, so it has kind of an air of finality about it. I had written it as the first question. I used it before as a first question, but I'm going to use it as a final question. Name something about Onslow County that you dearly love, and that you would take a stand to protect if necessary. And what is a shortcoming of the county that you would pledge now to change?
The shortcoming, I don't think we have any shortcomings. And I can tell you, in 2004, there was some shortcomings. We have come such a long ways. I mean, we have done so much since I've been a commissioner since 2004. I mean, we have a new courthouse. We have a new government center. We have a new airport. We have a new terminal. We have a new garage. We've done so much since 2004, and I don't think there's anything that would be negative to me. Everything's so positive. There's nothing in the short rows that I have to worry about. I think that the key thing is that there's three things that we need to do: a new recreational center, a new library, and then we need to get senior services completed, get it renovated and remodeled, whatever we're going to do, and get that done so our senior citizens can get back in it. This county is in the best shape it's ever been in. Since I've been a commissioner, I can tell you my first 4 years were not nice. I mean, we had meetings till 11:30, 12 o'clock at night, arguing all the time. After that, and in my second term, things started to change. I've seen so much growth.
Mr. Davis.
Well, my favorite thing about Onslow County is the people. There's not many rooms or many places that you can go to in Onslow County that you don't get a smile, just like Mr. Hargit's, and you get a handshake and even a hug. And so the people of Onslow County are amazing. And we could spend time talking about other things, but again, I come back to planning. We need a comprehensive plan that involves all the players, involves the municipalities actually sitting at the table, helping make decisions and inputs, and the municipalities have not been involved. The other thing we need to do, again, is look at housing and look at our ordinances and how we can relax some of our ordinances so that we can have more housing. I would even suggest to the point that you look at, our campgrounds or our tiny homes and the difficulty level required just to do those.
Mr. Knapp.
Well, the best thing I like about Onslow County is the atmosphere, and that includes the community, the people in this town. I got here in '90 with every intention of leaving in 3 years after I finished my assignment here in North Carolina, and I end up retiring here. And the reason being, and I'm from North Florida, this reminds me of North Florida to some extent, but I fell in love with the community. My kids were raised here, they went to school here, and I've just been around the community for such a long period of time, and it's a relatively safe community, and that's what I really adore about Onslow County. It's an economically sound community as far as I'm concerned. There's low crime rate, et cetera. We're close to the beaches. Kind of halfway point, is Wilmington to Myrtle Beach. So we're not that far away. And I just love the people and how they interact with you, and they're always your friend. But one of the things that's important to me with that, we have so many people here, we have to focus in on our senior services because we have a lot of elderly people that are retiring here, and their kids need assistance with them, and we need to cherish our elderly folks.
Mr. Padgett.
I don't know where to start on that question. Being born and raised here.
Elderly.
Thank you. No, I tell you, and Elliot, you asked about what I would fight for. I'd fight for our heritage, our agriculture, our waters, the fishing communities, industry that we've got that we need to help. Agriculture, we need to help. I just love Onslow County because I was born and raised here. And the people, as John Davis said, the people is what makes Onslow County great. And I just love them. Thank you.
Ms. Scotty?
I'm going to echo what everybody else said and say the community. It's a close-knit, we're like family here in Onslow County. You see it every weekend. There's festivals after festivals, everybody just coming together and just having a good time. But I think that shortcoming is because we don't have a big arena, though. We don't have a sports center where we can continue that family cookouts, the family playing spades, whatever we want to do as a family, as a community. We need something bigger and larger where our kids have a place to go and have fun on a regular basis. So I think that's one of the biggest things I think we need is a nice arena that we can enjoy each other continually. Thank you.
Ms. Scotty, you get the right of going first now in your closing statement, and we'll just go right down the table.
Okay. All right. Again, thank you guys for having me today. I want to thank you for taking the time to engage with me today and for your commitment to the future of Onslow County. As we've discussed, our community is at a pivotal point, and the decisions we make now will shape the lives of our residents for generations to come. I am passionate about serving our community and believe in a vision for Onslow County that prioritizes economic growth while preserving our unique character. Together, we can attract new businesses and support our local entrepreneurs, ensuring that all families have access to quality jobs and affordable housing. And I understand the importance of healthcare access and that the critical role it plays in the well-being of our residents. Moreover, I recognize that our beautiful parks and natural resources are vital to our quality of life. I will work tirelessly to enhance recreational opportunities, preserve green spaces, and invest in the community facilities that promote health, wellness, and family activities. Finally, I want to emphasize my dedication to public safety, infrastructure improvements, and the need for sustainable development. Together, we can create a safer, more connected, and more vibrant community. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Mr. Patchett.
Thank you. I want to say that, we have, to a point, we got to be innovative, and I feel like I can bring that. Being on both sides as an employee and as a commissioner, was able to bring some things to Onslow County with the help of the Board of Commissioners. Onslow County Garage does the maintenance on the landfill on the base. Interworking together is what makes it happen. And I could bring that. I like to make things happen for the betterment of everybody. It helps keep our tax rate down. It helps keep everybody involved in the community. And it takes us as one whole to make that work. And you got to have good commissioners and good leaders to make that work. And we have good leaders. We've had good leaders. And I want to be one of those leaders, continue to move this county forward in a very positive way. And I would appreciate your vote on November 5th. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Knapp?
Well, there's really not much to say. Anybody knows me that has known me for over the last 3 decades. I'm very much in your face. I'm to the point. I lean forward a lot and I speak my mind. And that's the only way I know. Maybe it's the cop in me. I don't know. Maybe that's the way I was brought up. But I believe in telling the truth and being upfront with people and not dilly-dallying around and saying stuff that may not be true. If I feel something about a certain issue, I'm going to express it. The majority of the people that know me know exactly where I stand on a particular issue or what I would say on a particular issue, and I'm proud of that. But I think what I brought has been consistent leadership to the county commissioners for the last 8 years. I intend to do that for another 4 years to make it a total of 12 years. I'm not afraid to make the tough decisions. As a vice chairman, I had to make a very tough decision regarding one of our commissioners, and I did it. And I did it because I felt it was necessary, and it was necessary for the citizens and for our board. And I will protect our board, and I will protect our citizens, because that's what they elected me to be as their representative. So please get out and vote for me one more time in November for county commissioner. Thank you.
Mr. Davis?
All right. Well, Glenn, Elliot, Lashia, thank you. Chamber, thank you. To the audience, thank y'all for taking time out of your schedule to be with us today. To those viewing on the internet, thank you for watching. Grateful to be here. And I'm looking forward to serving if the voters so choose to allow me to serve, and I would ask for your vote. I'm committed to whoever gets elected here, to working with the board. I know you guys have had some not so fun times on the board, some tenuous moments, and I'm committed to keeping a positive environment and working forward and making progress. I'm committed to working with Joed. I'm committed working with our nonprofits and committed to getting our taxes reduced. I'm committed to seeing what we can do about improving housing, looking at our ordinances. Bottom line is I'm committed to you, the people of Onslow County. I'm committed to serve you.
Mr. Buchanan.
I am Paul Buchanan, running for re-election Onslow County Commissioner. No false promises, just a firm commitment to serve the citizens of this county to the best of my ability. As a county, we face many challenges ahead. Navigating through those challenges requires seasoned, dedicated leadership. Your voice is an important part of the government of this county. I will continue to make your voice heard. I will continue to do my best to serve all the citizens of Onslow County. My goal is to provide the maximum support, vital services of the county possible, within reality of the resources available. Let us work together and make our county the best it can be. Every election is determined by the people who show up. I ask you for continued support for your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we're going to have the president of the Jacksonville-Onslow Chamber of Commerce, Lorette Legan.
Thank you. Thank you, candidates, for joining us today. Very informative. Appreciate what you're willing to do for our community. Also want to thank the City of Jacksonville and the Media Services for the use of this facility, and of course, our sponsor, Jones Onslow EMC, and of course, our diligent moderators and timekeepers, Elliot, Glenn, and Lachey. Thank y'all for being here and helping today. Now, for the audience, if you missed any part of Forum Onslow, just check the listings for G10 for the rebroadcast times and dates. Remember, your voice and vote matter, so get out to the polls. Absentee ballot request forms are available online at the Onslow County Board of Elections website. You can also find the dates, times, and locations for early one-stop voting. Election Day is November 5th from 6:30 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. at your local precinct. On behalf of the Jacksonville-Onslow Chamber of Commerce, thank you for joining us for this Meet the Candidates Forum, and ladies and gentlemen, we are adjourned.